Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back. This is part 7, and today we're going to talk about something that I get a lot of questions about. This is about developer accounts. And it doesn't matter if you're just starting off or if you're a veteran or anything, we all have issues with developer accounts. And the first thing I really want to say is that this is an evolving creature, okay? And what developer accounts look like, a couple years ago versus what they're going to look in a couple years from now, it's going to change ever so slightly. It's going to change because of Apple, because of Google, just based on the way people upload their apps. So when I say all this, realize that I'm talking about these in a way that's just more about best practices, because the best practices don't change very often at all. But in terms of actual day-to-day details, execution, just keep checking back to the blog, because those might change here and there, or just tune into what Apple's talking about or Google's talking about. And that's just something to keep in mind, because I just want to set expectations on all this, so that you're not looking for an exact how-to guide for something that could easily change next week or next month. Not in a big way, but just I just want to set that expectation. So today we're talking about developer accounts, and for anyone who doesn't know what a developer account is, this is essentially where you're going to upload your apps to in Apple. So it's called iTunes Connect. It's just essentially you become a member of the Apple developer community, and that is how that's where you put your apps if you want to go sell them. Pretty straightforward, right? So the goals of this video today are going to show you how to set up your accounts. Not like the walkthrough. If you want the walkthrough, download the ebooks. We do a complete walkthrough of everything you could ever hope to imagine. Or at least for now. But I'm talking about setting them up from a business standpoint. And we're also going to talk about strategies you can use, best practice strategies, and things to make your account more effective. And I'll show you some examples of what I've done, and also how effective it's been for me. So me personally, and our company, Blue Cloud as a whole, we have several accounts. Okay, I mean, we might have 6 or 7 at any given time, and then I'm working on anywhere from 20 to 30 at any given time on as a consultant, as a business partner, as an advisor. So I see all sorts of different things, and they all set up with different purposes, right? And what we're going to discuss today is having multiple accounts, because that's a big part of reskinning. We're going to talk about how you group your apps. Like if you want to create a brand or something like that, how do you actually group the apps? And then third is, what sort of strategies do you have for your account? What are you doing about the account that's actually increasing the value of what you're doing? So I want to do a quick account overview, right? Our app developer account overview. And granted, a lot of this is geared towards Apple, because a majority of you are probably going to start with Apple. But a lot of this is also applicable, is that right? To Google, to Amazon, to other communities. But Apple kind of wrote the book on this, and a lot of people copied them. So here's what it looks like. When you sign up, they're going to ask you, do you want to be an individual or do you want to be a company? Now, if you're just getting started, being an individual is a lot easier, because you just put in your personal information. In the US, it's going to be your social security number, and you're up and running relatively quickly. You pay the fee, which is $100 a year for Apple. If you want to create more accounts, you're going to have to start creating companies, okay? Now, the reason I keep saying this, in the United States, is because there's different laws in different countries, and I'm not going to get into all the details about that. But what you'll do is you'll create a company. It could be an LLC or an S Corp or a C Corp or an incorporated entity or whatever. You'll create that in your state in the US, and then that will get an employee identification number, and all of a sudden you have a company that you can create a new account with. And if you want to create multiple accounts, that's the road you're going to have to do. Just remember that costs something, right? Like you have to pay a couple $100 to get that set up, depending on what state you're in and how much help you want to do that. The third thing, and this is kind of one of those, we've talked about this a little bit, not gray areas, but it's kind of one, you can ride a different line, and different people have different takes on this. Information is going to be up to you. And what I mean by that is, what address you use, what banking information you use, what contact information, what phone number, what credit card, all that sort of stuff. I tend to be very open about my information, and I don't try to provide anything that's not completely accurate. Some people will set up, they'll use their neighbor's address, and they'll go get a new credit card with a different entity number, and they go through full lengths. And typically, if you want to do that, it's because you're very scared about what the ramifications of what you're doing with apps are. And my whole thing is, look, if you are doing something that makes you feel like you need to really cover your tracks that much, it's probably not going to be a long-term strategy ever. Now, I've seen people be very successful and they've been very aggressive with apps, and it's because of that that they haven't gotten a lot of things shut down. It's totally up to you. My recommendation is just be honest and just build great apps, and you're going to be fine. Okay, so the second piece of setting up accounts is just thinking about having multiple accounts. Some people say, well, why would you even want that? And there's a few reasons. The first is just a form of diversification, because if you don't know, that there's a review history on apps. So if your apps get rejected a couple times or they don't get approved into the App Store, sometimes a reviewer could say, hey, this app account, give it a little extra thought, or this app account is really great, keep pushing them through this. And when you have different accounts, that review history doesn't follow you around, right? So if you have a very, very good success in one account, that can help you out when you're not having good success in another, and vice versa. This can also help you build great buckets of apps. We're going to talk about this in a little bit, but when you're talking about, hey, I've got a lot of fitness apps, or hey, I've got a lot of casino apps, building a portfolio can be really good because you can put them all in the same place, and it helps with people who come to your, they see your app, they go to see your in the store, and all of a sudden they say, wow, they've got all these other apps that are just like this one, I'd love to check them out. This can really help increase your volume if you do it the right way, and it can also increase your security, right? Like going back to the diversification, just having a bunch of app accounts set up can really make sure that, if one gets shut down, you still have two running and all that sort of stuff. My advice to you guys is wait until you absolutely need it to create more, because it's not cheap to set up a company, and it can be a headache from an accounting standpoint, because now you have this whole new company providing all this new revenue. So it's totally, it can be a very powerful thing to set up more accounts, but definitely wait until you absolutely need it. Like if we got the operations running, we got tons of source code, we're ready to rock. Maybe then you start thinking about it, but really wait until you've got the first account just really dialed in before you go to the next step. So the first thing I focus on when I set up an account is the brand of the account, right? Because an app network of similar categories is going to be a lot stronger than an account filled with random apps. And so, for example, many of you have probably seen this. This is one of my portfolios. It's called Gold Coin Kingdom. And now, obviously, it's not all casino apps. Originally, it was going to be all casino apps. But we've used this to push reskins into. You can see that video merger code, which some of you have probably seen, some of you have probably purchased. We've got a few other ones with the source codes that we put in there. But a lot of this is just quality stuff. It's nice apps. We don't put any garbage in here. And that's worked out really, really well for me, which I'll talk about in a little bit. It's also really important to name your account accordingly. So with that branded, or the developer account I showed you, we called it Gold Coin Kingdom. And the first thing people say when they hear that is like, oh, is it like a casino game? Is it kind of like a carnival fun, that kind of gameplay? Which it is, and that's why we named it what we did. Because it's really helpful for branding when you have that, right? And so when you have like a lot of different developer accounts, you can get creative with it, but also, think about what kind of brand. And you can, when you look at these brand names or these company names, and you might set these up as your S Corp name or your LLC name. Obviously, Photobomb LLC is going to be a lot of photo apps, or Casino Kings, casino apps, alarms, maybe do a lot of alarm clocks and utilities. And my favorite animals, maybe you're doing some kids apps or anything like that, like some arcade games. But that's kind of the way to think about it, is when you're thinking about naming your app, it's all about the brand. Now, back in the day, it used to be that these apps would get picked up by the algorithm as keywords. That is not really the case anymore. There's not a whole lot of proof on that other than just talking to a lot of people in the industry. So when you're thinking about this, don't try to stuff it with 95 keywords. That worked back in 2011. It's probably not going to add that much to you. And a lot of times people are going to see that and they're going to say, why are you naming it all these things? It's not going to give you a big bang for your buck. So why would you do this, right? So you want to build different networks and different genre apps. Just like we talked about with Photobombs and Casino Kings, you want to bucket them differently. Now, this does not have to be an exact science by any means. And if you're just getting started, do not stress about this whatsoever. It's totally fine if you start off with a little bit of everything, and then you slowly start to kind of piece them apart. Now think about these also, like if you create a second account or a third account, think of them as like your backup to your master account. So you have your favorite app account, and then you're creating backups on the side of that. So let's say I have Gold Coin Kingdom. I'd create another one where it's got a little bit more diversity, and I tend to put a few more reskins in that one. It's just kind of like, where do I want to test out some new stuff? It's also great, you can start pushing traffic between networks. So with our casino apps, we often do a lot of cross promotions. When I had a lot of photo apps going, that's what we would do as well. And that can be really helpful because your metrics on cross promotions, especially if you own all those apps, can be very powerful. I've worked with some Blue Cloud people that have really, really successful photo apps. And this is the cross promotion that you'll see on those apps can be anywhere from like 3 to 4 times as high as if you just try to promote other random ad networks or whatever it may be. If you want to do cross promotion, check out Explode with an X, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Accounts, like I said, Apple's gonna be $100 a year. If you do Google, it's $25 a year. That may change. They may raise that price. These guys always are changing stuff. Amazon was free for a while, but I think they moved it up to $25 a year this go around. Just check it out and make sure you remember that. I mean, that's going to be a cost for you. It's not going to be a huge cost because it's spaced out over a year. But do that, and then also the cost of the companies. The biggest reason why you want to have these multiple accounts is because in case Apple shuts you down for any particular reason, they can be very fickle about this. It's just kind of like something to really want to keep in mind, and always think that there's an exit strategy. I'm going to talk about that one more second. When you build a developer account, think about, well, how can I kind of package these all up in case I ever want to sell them? It's gonna be a lot easier if the brand package itself, the developer account, looks really nice. And most importantly, guys, I mean, this is the kind of the end of the day. Like, more accounts allows you to upload more at a time. Like, that's why I started doing this. That's why most people do it, is because if you're uploading 20 apps a month, you can't dump those all into the same account. Like, unless they are all completely different games or apps or skins or whatever, it's going to have a really hard time. And so you want to be able to upload it to multiple places and multiple times. Now, I've sold a couple of accounts for well into the 6 figures. And a lot of the reason was because they look at the account and they go, hey, I like the quality of all these apps. They didn't even know that I had all these other portfolios. They would just see one of them and say, hey, this looks great. I like what I see. There's no crap in here. The screenshots look awesome. Everything looks like it's kind of packaged up nicely. This works. I'm interested. And that's how I would sell them. So when we talked about packaging up your brand and creating a kind of a synergistic relationship, that's why. And anecdotally, one thing that happened is that I get calls from companies a lot. And so one example is I got a call from Publishers Clearinghouse. And if anyone doesn't know Publishers Clearinghouse, they basically do enter to win $25 million or $1,000 a week for the rest of your life, that kind of thing. And they want to get into mobile. And they've built a few casino apps, and they did a really bad job with it. And they called me and said, hey, look, we saw your Gold Coin Kingdom account. We saw these casino apps. We'd love to buy it from you. And that's the kind of thing, those are the kind of calls you're going to get. If they had seen like all these arcade games and social networking and messaging apps in that Gold Coin Kingdom account, they'd probably look at me and be like, well, we can't buy that all together. We'd have to peel those apart. And that's not going to be good for anyone. And so those kind of calls can really happen when you have a brand. You have something you can sell, you can package it all, and all it really takes is organization, right? And that's why having multiple developer accounts can be so powerful. So let's talk about a couple account strategies. First thing, do not upload to all accounts at once. Like, I don't care if you have 1 account, I don't care if you have 10 accounts. If you are uploading all your reskins at the exact same time, Apple's going to notice. Like, they have enough technology in their system now to see if there's a huge influx of the same type of code to multiple accounts that are, start to have connections here and there. So don't upload all of them out. Like, start to space them out. So what an example would be like, well, let's say you reskin the video merger app 3 times. You might want to upload it to 1 account and then wait till that one's approved, then upload 1 to the next account and kind of stepstone it, right? Like, tier it. And that's easy to do. You just set up a calendar for your VA, your virtual assistant, and just have them upload at the right time, or send it to your developer and say, on this date, this is when you upload. And it's going to give you a little bit more security. Now, this is just a good way to kind of mitigate your risk. Okay, so the other thing is you really don't want to cross the 3 to 4 skins in a relatively short amount of time. What I mean by that is, let's say you do reskin the video merger and you upload the first one, they love it, and you upload a reskin like a couple weeks later and you get it through, and then you upload a 3rd one a month later and they're like, okay, they don't say anything, but you get it in there because you added a bunch of features and you're actively updating the other ones. After that, you really don't want to push it. I've seen people get 15, 20 reskins in there but that's really, really, really rare. And it's just not worth it, right? So after you get about 3 in there, and even 3 can be tough, just realize that that's probably the most you're going to get for, like, until you want to wait 3 or 4 months. Once you wait a while, I think you'll be okay, but really space it out. And remember that you really want to make the apps kind of independent of each other and not look like they're just, you slapped on some new graphics and didn't do anything else. You want to make them look like they're really well branded. If you update the apps, you can increase that number dramatically, right? If you update Video Merger or if you upload it and then you start updating it like crazy and you get really, really good quality, awesome reviews, tons of downloads, they are not going to push back nearly as hard when you try to upload new versions of that because they know that you're putting in quality. And keeping the quality high is always going to help get more apps in the store, help reviewers test the apps. You're going to be able to upload more, less rejections, to get into more accounts. It's just great. And I think this is just kind of top level basic. Apple is smart, you guys. Like, they're a lot smarter than they used to be, and they're just going to keep getting smarter. And that's a good thing. Like, they're keeping crap out of the store. But what I'm going to tell you is don't try to get away with anything. And this is just a gut check, right? There are plenty of people that buy source code from me. They do not change any of the graphics, and they upload it just how it is. Like, that's what they do. And I'm sure on some level, those people, I don't know who, I mean, I know who they are, but I'm not a police officer. I'm sure on some level they feel like they got away with something. That is not going to work, you guys. Like, it is not going to work long term for a variety of reasons. So don't try to do that. Really follow the rules, and it's going to be a much better success for you way down the road. And secondly, you can do these same techniques on Google and Amazon, but Google can be quick to terminate your account. So the good thing about Amazon and Apple is that they're typically proactive, right? Like, they don't want to kick you out. Like, they're trying to help you and make it happen. Like, they want more apps in the store. Google can be very, like, you can wake up one day and your Google account is gone. And you're like, what just happened? Like, why is this? Now, this is only if you're like, abusing the app store, and this only happens to people that are like, probably should have gotten their apps kicked out. But just realize that there are different sandboxes. There's different set of rules. And a lot of that is because Google does not have a review process. And so that's why they're so quick to kick you out. So just keep this in mind when you decide how many app accounts you want to make, where you want to be, what stores you want to be in. All right, so the final takeaway, kind of wrapping this all up, have some multiple accounts. If you really want to grow and when you're ready to grow, having multiple accounts can make a really big difference for you. Group your similar apps in the same network. If you start reskinning a specific genre, like we said, fitness, or let's say medical, or music, or whatever it may be, start to put them in the same network as you grow it. It can be really effective. Your account name is definitely important. You want it for the brand because and just being able to really package it all the way you want for users and for a potential exit strategy. And use additional accounts as a backup as an exit strategy. You can have multiple accounts running at once, and that's going to give you more skins, and hopefully it's going to get you a lot more money because you're going to have a lot more profitable products running at once. So I hope this was helpful, guys, and I will see you in the next video.